I heard a truism the other day that said, you might need a lawyer once in your life, you might need a doctor a couple of times a year, but you need a farmer 3 times a day. So if he's still here, I can't see him, there he is. I'd like to welcome Ash Wheeler from Trill Farm Garden. Ash grew up steeped in organic growing. His parents ran an organic small holding in Sussex and started a box scheme in the 90s. And Ash went on to study horticulture at Reading University, and after some time spent working in historical garden design and ornamental gardens, he realised he really would rather prefer to grow vegetables. So please welcome Ash Wheeler.
Thank you. You've basically just introduced me. I can miss out quite a big bit of me. But yeah, basically I was brought up. My parents were, I suppose, pioneering growers. They had a box scheme in the early 90s and were organic growers for about 25 years, I think. So I was sort of brought up with it, and after doing a bit of work in historical garden design, I suppose I appreciated so much being brought up with that in my childhood. Myself and my partner Kate decided to move to Trill, and actually I think it was the day that we'd spoken to Romy, the farm owner, for the first time. Kate started feeling a little bit sick and had a pregnancy test the next day and found out she was pregnant. So it was all quite daunting, but equally knowing that we were going to be bringing kids into the world in a similar sort of way that I was, I felt really good about that. So Trill Farm is basically it's over near Axminster, and I think it's a really good model for agriculture. The idea is to have various businesses on the farm. So at the moment there's us. We run 2.5 acres of organic veg. There's a tenant farmer renting most of the land. It's a 300-acre farm. And then recently a carpenter's moved on to have a carpentry workshop there, running courses. There's various other courses going on. There's a soap maker. There's a chef running courses and supplying cooking food for all the other courses going on. So loads of different things. It's a real, well, I suppose moving to such a rural area, one of the concerns was it perhaps being quite quiet and a sort of quite a lonely life growing on my own. But yeah, it's a really sort of thriving farm, loads of people on it, and I think a great model. The other good thing about it is that it's providing opportunities for people like me who wouldn't be able to afford to buy land. Land has become so pricey now. It's either not worth buying if you're going to grow vegetables, because you're never going to get it back. You may as well rent. But then if you rent, there's a lot of capital costs to think about. And Romy actually set up the veg garden at Trill, so we basically went into it without having to pay all those capital costs. No real risk. So great for new entrants, which is a real issue at the moment in the UK. There's so many people wanting to get into agriculture. There's 700 people on the waiting list for organic apprenticeships. It just shows how many people want to do it. There's not actually enough host farms willing to take on the apprentices. We've just started taking on, it's not with the Sword Association, but independently, having an apprentice each year as well. So yeah, I suppose thinking about the film and what it's saying and linking it to the Landworkers Alliance, which I helped to set up, it's fairly obvious that the current food system is defunct. There's so many good smaller scale growers and farmers and producers around the UK that aren't getting the support that they need. So much of the subsidies is going to large scale agriculture, like the single farm payment scheme, for example. I don't think it's called that anymore, but it's basically the more land you get, the more money you get. So it's favouring large scale agriculture. They've just cut payments to anyone who farms on less than 5 hectares. So you just don't get any subsidies at all. There's no support there for small scale agriculture. We've recently just written this document, which is basically sort of policy requests to Defra, saying how we think they should be changing their policies. I suppose the main thing is the levelling the playing field between large scale and small scale agriculture. So giving more support to small scale producers, capping the total payments. So sometimes farmers, there's landowners who are getting literally millions of pounds a year just for owning land. There's very little that you have to do to get that money. I think the biggest beneficiary of that is about £10 million a year, and yeah, that's just for owning land. We're saying cap that payment and redirect that money into supporting small scale farmers and new entrants into farming, and supporting more like the core production costs rather than just owning land, you know. So supporting actual food growing by small scale producers. We sort of set up the Landworkers Alliance as an alternative voice to the NFU, I suppose, who really represent large scale farmers in the UK. So we're there to represent the view of smaller scale farmers and growers. And we are members of La Via Campesina, which is an international farmers union, I suppose, which represents 200 million farmers across the world. So it's pretty massive, and it's all based around food sovereignty, which is it's defined as the rights of communities to define their own food system. And this there's various points to this, but that's basically what we're aiming for: the rights of communities to define their own food system, which certainly isn't the case at the moment. It's not at the moment about putting producers first, or even the consumers first. It's about putting large-scale industrial agriculture first, and that's obviously not right. What else? I suppose something going back to the film and my parents being growers, something that I thought about when the film was showing was my parents started in the mid-80s, and they started selling, they were organic, certified organic, and they started selling their produce wholesale because there wasn't much of a market for it locally. they actually sold it as non-organic because there wasn't a market for organic. If they called it organic, they couldn't sell it. It was just quite hilarious when you think about it now. And some of the first crops they sold, the celery they sold, it was to a supermarket. And 2 weeks later, a lorry turned up with the same celery, returning it to my parents, saying we couldn't sell it. We're not paying you. Here it is. Which really sort of, I don't know if there's things in place now to stop that happening, but it sort of shows what it's like, really. And then my parents started a box scheme in the early 90s, and were involved in it all when it was booming, I suppose. But it definitely, there's still a lot more to be done. I think there's a lot of small producers, especially around here. There's so many of us, and a lot of people that are still struggling to sell their stuff. So many people that are just used to going down to the shop, the ease of going down to the supermarket or whatever, and getting all their stuff at once. And so I think one of the most important things is to try and highlight that issue, try and reach out to the people. Probably generally the people you guys that are here today are all sort of converted anyway, hopefully. There's so many people out there that need to know how important it is to support local producers, small-scale producers. Not all local producers are great. You get local factory farms. That's something to think about as well with the word local. Obviously, generally, it's a good thing. And yeah, so I think that's really important. Trying to get this message across to the majority, and also pushing for policies to be changed. So if you're interested, well, have a look on our website, the Landworkers Alliance. There's a PDF version of this on there, and really it's a thing to be sending to your local MPs, asking them if they're going to be implementing any of this into their. Well, it's too late for the current rural manifestos, but yeah, just pushing the questions a little bit, because it's supposed to be a democracy after all. Yeah, so have a look. There's lots of interesting facts and figures in here. And yeah, I think that's probably about it, if that's all right. There's lots of... I'll leave some leaflets here for the Landworkers Alliance, so you can... It's got the website and stuff on there, if you're interested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ash.